We are talking about a jaw-dropping historic giant capable of fetching up to $1.5 million at a major high-tier auction block. Yes, you heard that correctly. A staggering seven-figure fortune hiding right in plain sight among the ordinary everyday copper of mid-century America. Imagine walking up to your mailbox on a crisp Tuesday afternoon, pulling out your usual stack of junk mail and local grocery flyers, and feeling that sudden heavy jolt in your stomach. Imagine turning over a single ordinary-looking copper coin and realizing that this unassuming little piece of metal makes you wealthier than most people could ever dream of achieving in a lifetime of hard labor. This is not some far-fetched Hollywood fairy tale spun by screenwriters in a sterile boardroom. This is the absolute high-stakes reality of modern numismatics, where ordinary people just like you stumble upon absolute legendary numismatic unicorns while simply sorting through old coffee cans, garage sale finds, and inherited family jars. Today we are zooming our absolute hyper-focus onto one specific legendary date that makes the pulse of every seasoned collector spike to a dangerous level. The 1944 Lincoln cent. Now right away most casual observers and beginner hobbyists will scoff and shake their heads. They will tell you that 1944 was a massive high-output year for the Philadelphia Mint, with hundreds of millions of ordinary bronze Lincoln cents pouring out into heavy circulation to fuel the wartime economy. They will tell you it is one of the most common dates in the entire 20th century series. And under 99% of all normal circumstances they would be entirely correct. But history loves to play chaotic tricks on us. Sometimes the United States Mint makes a catastrophic mistake behind locked doors. Sometimes a stray blank piece of experimental metal slips into the high-pressure coining presses. And sometimes lightning strikes the exact same spot twice in the absolute unlikeliest of ways, creating a singular physical artifact that shatters all known auction records and rewrites the history books forever. Let us take a deep, breathless dive right back into the suffocating tension of 1944. The entire globe is consumed by the apocalyptic fires of the Second World War. Millions of brave young Americans are deployed across stormy oceans and foreign battlefields. Back home on the domestic front, the United States government is locked in a desperate race against critical material shortages. Copper is the absolute lifeblood of military communications, shell casings, and electrical wiring. The military needs every single ounce of copper they can possibly scrape together to keep the war machine moving forward. By the dawn of 1944, the Mint desperately needed to return to a more stable composition. They could not go back to pure copper because military demands were still perilously high. The brilliant minds at the Mint laboratories scrambled for a solution and ultimately settled on a clever wartime recycling program. They began melting down millions of spent wartime brass shell casings gathered from training ranges and military installations across the country. They melted down those heavy artillery shells mixed in the precise copper and zinc proportions and rolled out thousands of tons of brand new brass alloy planchets, destined for the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco coin presses. This is where the grand narrative splits into two completely different universes. The vast majority of 1944 cents minted across the country were struck on this recycled shell case brass composition. They contain roughly 95% copper and 5% zinc, just like the traditional bronze cents of the pre-war era. But they possess a slightly different metallic sheen and a distinct composition profile that modern grading services and expert numismatists can identify under high magnification. These are common. They are historically fascinating. They are wonderful keepsakes to hold in your palm and connect directly with the turbulent spirit of the greatest generation. But they are not worth $1.5 million. To reach that breathtaking mountain peak of numismatic value, we have to look for the ultimate manufacturing anomaly. We have to look for the ghost in the machine. Picture the deafening thunderous roar of the Philadelphia Mint floor in the scorching summer heat of 1944. Giant heavy iron fly presses are slamming down millions of times a day at blistering speeds. Huge canvas bags are overflowing with heavy metallic blanks. The workers are exhausted operating under grueling wartime shift schedules pushed to their absolute physical limits to keep up with relentless national demand. In the chaotic frenzy of the coining room, a tiny, nearly invisible error occurs. A small handful of leftover, stray planchets from the previous year production cycle, or worse yet, experimental trial blanks left abandoned in the deep dark corners of heavy machinery hoppers, somehow managed to survive the rigorous end-of-year inventory sweeps. These are the legendary 1943 zinc-coated steel blanks. Imagine one of those silver-gray steel planchets sliding quietly down the narrow feed chute of a high-speed press designated exclusively for 1944 brass coin production. The heavy steel dies come slamming down with tons of crushing hydraulic force striking the alien steel surface instead of the expected brass alloy. The metal resists differently. The pressure forces the steel molecules to flow in an entirely unique pattern. The details of Lincoln profile take on a striking, razor-sharp, almost ghost-like appearance because steel is significantly harder and more rigid than soft bronze or brass. The press cycles upward. The newly minted error coin ejects with a sharp metallic clink and tumbles blindly down the wooden sorting chute into a massive canvas bin alongside tens of thousands of ordinary 1944 brass cents. Nobody on the floor notices. Nobody hears a different ring. The shift supervisor does not blink an eye. The heavy bag is securely tied shut, hoisted onto a wooden pallet, loaded onto a heavy freight truck, and shipped out across the country into the sprawling economic bloodstream of a nation at war. Fast forward decades later. You are sitting at your kitchen table late at night under the warm amber glow of a single adjustable desk lamp. The house is completely silent save for the rhythmic ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hallway. You have a heavy canvas bag of old wheat pennies sitting right in front of you. A bag you inherited from your grandfather, who collected pocket change religiously during the middle of the 20th century and tucked them away in heavy glass mason jars behind rows of dusty canned goods in the dark basement. Your fingers are slightly calloused. Your eyes are getting a bit tired from staring at tiny dates for hours on end. You pick up a dull grayish-silvery scent that looks completely out of place among the warm shimmering red and brown hues of the surrounding pile. You pause. Your breath catches instantly in your throat. Your mind races back to every single article you ever read online, every late-night coin collecting forum post you ever scrolled through on your phone, every legendary discovery story whispered by old-timers at the local weekend coin club. You grab a small handheld pocket magnet from your desktop toolkit with trembling fingers. You bring it slowly down toward the strange silver-colored coin resting in the center of your palm. Click. The coin instantly snaps upward, sticking firmly to the magnet with an unmistakable magnetic pull. Time literally freezes in that exact microsecond. The ambient sounds of the night completely vanish. Your heart begins hammering violently against your ribs like a caged bird desperate for escape. A cold sweat breaks out across your forehead. You realize in that single electrifying revelation that you are not just holding an old piece of pocket change. You are holding a literal winning lottery ticket punched directly into the highest echelons of American numismatic history. Let us be completely clear about the sheer rarity of this beast. Out of the billions of coins produced by the United States Mint during the tumultuous year of 1944, only a tiny, microscopic handful of authenticated steel error cents are known to exist today. Experts estimate that fewer than a dozen genuine 1943 steel cents accidentally struck with 1944 dies have ever been discovered and verified by professional grading authorities like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company. Let that sink deep into your consciousness. Millions upon millions of collectors scour millions of bags every single year. Generations of keen-eyed hobbyists have passed through this mortal coil, searching high and low for this exact holy grail. And yet the total confirmed population count remains agonizingly small, making each newly discovered specimen an earth-shattering event that sends shockwaves through high-end auction houses from New York to California. When a verified, certified, museum-quality 1944 steel cent finally crosses the auction block, wealthy investors, high-rolling hedge fund managers, and elite private collectors practically tear each other apart, bidding the price into the stratosphere. We are talking about jaw-dropping hammer prices that regularly shatter expectations. A high-grade specimen certified in brilliant uncirculated mint state condition has the undeniable raw market gravity to command a staggering valuation, peaking right around that magical $1.5 million milestone. Think about what a life-changing sum of money like that actually means for an ordinary person. It is not just about buying fancy luxury sports cars or sprawling coastal mansions. It is about absolute, unshakable financial freedom. It is about paying off your mortgage in a single afternoon. It is about funding your children and grandchildren college tuitions without ever having to look at a student loan application again. It is about walking into your boss' office tomorrow morning, handing over a polite resignation letter, and knowing with absolute certainty that your family financial security is locked in stone for the rest of your natural days. And the most thrilling, intoxicating part of this entire grand narrative can happen to absolutely anyone. You do not need a multi-million-dollar hedge fund portfolio. You do not need an advanced engineering degree from an Ivy League university. You do not need a high-tech laboratory filled with expensive spectrometers and X-ray fluorescence equipment. All you need is patience, a keen eye for detail, a simple household magnet, and an unshakable willingness to look closely at the tiny neglected treasures that society throws away every single day without a second thought. Think about the sheer volume of old coin jars sitting right now in dusty attics, dark closets, garage sales, estate liquidations, bank safety deposit boxes, and forgotten desk drawers all across America. Millions of people walk past them every single week, completely oblivious to the unimaginable wealth sitting quietly beneath layers of grime and oxidation. Your own elderly relatives might have stashed away a heavy glass jar of old wartime coins back in 1945 and never looked at them again. Those jars are waiting. They are whispering your name in the dark. So how do you protect yourself? How do you make sure you do not get fooled by cunning modern tricksters and basement counterfeiters? Because let us face the harsh reality. Where there are millions of dollars at stake, and scrupulous individuals will always try to cheat the system. Counterfeiters love to take genuine common 1943 steel cents, which are worth only a few dollars each, and painstakingly alter the final digit of the date using microscopic engraving tools, chemical treatments, and precision welding to turn that 3 into a 4. They take an ordinary steel coin and doctor it to look like a multimillion-dollar 1944 error. To the untrained eye under standard indoor lighting, the deception can look frighteningly convincing. This is where true numismatic expertise and professional verification become your ultimate armor. You cannot simply trust your own naked eyes or a cheap plastic magnifying glass you bought online for $5. If you suspect you have found a genuine 1944 steel cent, you must handle it like a priceless artifact being transported from the Louvre. Do not clean it. Never, under any circumstances, use metal polish, abrasive soaps, scrubbing brushes, or chemical dips to make it shine. Cleaning a rare error coin instantly wipes out 50 to 80% of its numismatic market value in a single stroke. Collectors want original, untouched, unmolested surfaces with authentic mint luster and natural aging patinas. Instead, place the coin gently into a soft archival non-PVC protective flip. Keep it secure, keep it safe, and prepare to ship it via fully insured, heavily track-secure courier directly to a top-tier authentication service like PCGS or NGC. Let their expert numismatists examine the metallic composition under high-powered electron microscopes, verify the die markers, test the weight down to the exact milligram, and confirm whether your piece is a genuine million-dollar mint error or a clever modern fake. Imagine the agonizing, heart-pounding suspense of waiting for that grating package to arrive back at your doorstep. Imagine tracking the insured package online hour by hour, watching it move through distribution centers until the delivery truck finally pulls up to your curb. You take the heavy cardboard box inside. You cut the reinforced packing tape with a steady hand. You pull back the heavy bubble wrap layers, revealing a sleek, heavy, tamper-evident sonically sealed acrylic slab with a pristine certification label locked permanently inside. You tilt the heavy slab under the bright light of your desk lamp. You read the bold professional grading text printed clearly across the top header. 1944 cents struck on a zinc-coated steel planchet. Mint error. And right there beneath those words you see the grade. Mint state 64. Or perhaps even higher. The room spins for a brief, glorious second. The weight of financial struggle, debt, uncertainty, and endless worry lifts completely off your shoulders in one clean, cathartic breath. You did it. You joined the elite pantheon of legendary coin discovery hunters who proved that lightning really can strike twice in the most unexpected places. Now it is entirely up to you. The stage is set. The history is written. The coins are out there right now, waiting in the dark corners of the world for someone with enough passion, enough curiosity, and enough relentless drive to find them. Go check those old jars. Open up those heavy coffee cans. Inspect every single pocket change handful you bring home from the grocery store checkout line. Run your fingers through the forgotten boxes in your grandparents' basement. Keep your eyes sharp, keep your mind focused, and never, ever stop believing that your very own life-changing, seven-figure numismatic miracle is just one coin away. Today we are hunting down the holy grail of mid-century coin, collecting the phenomenal 1953 Lincoln cent with a specific mint mark variation that has numismatists whispering in absolute awe. If you have ever dreamed of finding a fortune hidden in plain sight, grab a magnifying glass and hold your breath, because what you are about to discover might just change the way you look at every single coin that passes through your hands for the rest of your life. Let us travel back in time to the year 1953. Dwight D. Eisenhower has just been inaugurated as the President of the United States. The Korean War is drawing toward an iconic armistice. Television is rapidly replacing the radio as the heartbeat of the American living room. And inside the bustling high-pressure mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, massive mechanical presses are operating at a relentless, blinding speed, churning out hundreds of millions of gleaming copper cents to fuel a booming post-war economy. To the average factory worker or grocery store cashier in 1953, these little Abraham Lincoln pennies were completely unremarkable. They bought a stick of gum, a postage stamp, or a newspaper. Nobody looked twice at them. They were simply spent, tossed into jars, dropped between sofa cushions, or lost forever in the dirt. But amidst this tidal wave of mass production, tiny microscopic human errors and astonishing minting anomalies occurred behind locked doors. Errors that slipped past strict quality control inspectors and entered the wild circulation streams of America. For decades, these sleeper titans lay dormant, waiting for the right pair of sharp eyes to uncover their staggering true identity. Why is the 1953 Lincoln cent currently dominating high-end auction houses and commanding staggering valuations that reach heights of up to $1.6 million in exceptional circumstances? The secret lies in the delicate, chaotic intersection of extreme rarity, flawless preserved condition, and specific elite die varieties that collectors spend a lifetime searching for. Let us address the elephant in the room right away. Not every 1953 penny is worth millions. In fact, the vast majority of circulated 1953 cents minted in Philadelphia without a mint mark or in Denver with the iconic small d mint mark on the reverse are common dates worth only a few cents as copper bullion or minor collector pieces. But numismatics is a game of microscopic margins. It is a thrilling high-stakes treasure hunt where a fraction of a millimeter, a misplaced punch mark, a catastrophic double die striking error, or a pristine mirror-like proof finish elevates a humble pocket change coin into a museum-grade seven-figure masterpiece. Let us dive deep into the specific varieties that every serious hunter needs to memorize right now. First, we must talk about the mint mark mystery. In 1953, the Denver Mint utilized a small punch to stamp the letter D onto the working coin dies just below the date. Because these punches were applied by hand, variations occurred. Collectors obsess over the rare repunched mint mark varieties and the elusive minor errors associated with the 1953 D penny. But the real adrenaline-pumping chase involves the legendary mint errors. Imagine a massive steel die bouncing inside a hydraulic coining press, striking a blank planchet twice and creating a mind-bending ghosted doubling across Lincoln chest, the date and the lettering. When a major double die obverse strikes a 1953 cent with crisp dramatic separation visible to the naked eye, the value instantly skyrockets from pocket change to thousands of dollars. And when you combine a monumental mint error with a pristine condition grade of mint state 67 red, the market responds with explosive million-dollar competitive bidding frenzies. Think about the sheer improbability of survival for a coin like this. Out of the hundreds of millions minted, how many survived circulation without getting scratched, worn down, corroded, or melted for scrap copper during historic metal spikes? Very few. Most 1953 pennies encountered today are heavily circulated brown specimens scarred with microscopic dings and environmental wear. Finding one that escaped circulation entirely, perhaps stashed away in an uncirculated mint set or preserved in a pristine bank-wrapped roll for over 70 years, is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of the continental United States. Yet every single year, ordinary people walking through estate sales garage finds coin shops and family inheritances stumble upon legendary rarities that experts swore had all been accounted for. Could the next record-breaking discovery be sitting in your very own home right now? Let us break down the exact anatomy of what you need to look for when inspecting your 1953 pennies. First, get yourself a high-powered jeweler loupe or a digital coin microscope. Do not rely on your naked eye alone, because the defining characteristics of a high-value error are often microscopic. Start with the date. Look at the numbers 1953. Are the edges crisp and sharp, or do you see a clear secondary shadow ghosting beneath the primary digits? That is your first massive red flag for a repunched date or a double die variety. Next, sweep your eyes upward toward the legendary profile of Abraham. Now shift your attention to the reverse side of the coin. The iconic wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. On a standard 1953 cent, the wheat lines and the individual kernels should be sharp and well-defined. But keep your eyes peeled for severe die cracks, cut errors where the edge of the die has broken off, leaving a raised blob of metal connected to the rim, or severe off-center strikes where the press missed half the blank planchet, leaving a dramatic crescent moon of blank metal alongside a fully struck Lincoln profile. These dramatic physical anomalies are the holy grail for error collectors worldwide. They are one-of-a-kind physical manifestations of mechanical chaos on the Philadelphia and Denver Mint floors back in 1953. Consider the psychological rush of the hunt. Numismatics is not merely a dry academic hobby for historians in dusty libraries. It is an intense treasure hunt fueled by the intoxicating thrill of discovery. Every time you open an old jar of coins, sort through a bank box of rolls, or browse a yard sale box of dusty memorabilia, you are participating in a grand historical lottery. The tickets were purchased 70 years ago by our grandparents and great-grandparents. They spent most of them on everyday goods. But a tiny fraction of those coins slipped away into dark corners, hiding their extraordinary secrets in plain sight. Every expert numismatist who has ever shattered a world auction record started with the exact same advantage you have right now: curiosity, a keen eye, and the unyielding belief that true treasures are still out there waiting to be found. Imagine the sheer disbelief of an ordinary collector who casually sits down at their kitchen table on a quiet Sunday afternoon with a $50 bag of mixed wheat pennies bought from a local estate sale. They pour the gleaming copper cascade onto a soft felt mat. They pick up their loupe. Coin after coin passes by. A 1941, a 1948, a 1945. Then they pick up a 1953 Denver Mint cent. At first glance, it looks normal. But as they tilt the coin under a bright LED light bulb catching the pristine mirror like flash of original mint luster, something looks entirely wrong with the lettering. They slide the coin under their digital microscope and hook it up to a laptop screen. The image magnifies 40 times. Their crystal clear and undeniable is a massive dramatic double die obverse showing striking separation on the date and the legend. Their heart hammers against their ribs. Adrenaline surges through their veins. In that single defining heartbeat, a quiet afternoon transforms into a life-altering historical discovery. Why do these incredible discoveries continue to happen decade after decade? Because America is vast. Millions upon millions of households still hold old coin collections stored away in attics, basements, closets, and bank safe deposit boxes passed down through generations who had no idea what they were actually holding. Most people assume that if a coin is old, it must be valuable, or conversely, that if it is just a penny, it must be worthless. They do not realize that the numismatic world operates on razor-thin microscopic margins where a tiny die crack, a subtle repunched mint mark, or a rare color designation creates an astronomical valuation gap. That ignorance is your greatest superpower. While the general public ignores old pocket change, elite coin hunters are actively scanning every available source, knowing full well that monumental fortunes are still hiding in the wild. Let us examine the economic landscape of rare coin collecting in 2026. In recent years, alternative tangible assets have exploded in popularity. High net worth investors and passionate collectors alike are pouring capital into rare certified coins, viewing them as a bulletproof hedge against inflation and economic volatility. Unlike stocks or digital tokens, a rare historic U.S. coin is a physical piece of tangible American history you can hold in the palm of your hand. A certified masterpiece graded by top-tier services commands global liquidity at elite auction houses like Stack's, Bowers, Heritage Auctions, and Great Collections. When a truly unique or extraordinarily high-grade rare coin hits the auction block, wealthy collectors compete ruthlessly, driving prices up to unprecedented heights. Now let us talk strategy. How do you transform yourself from a casual observer into a lethal, highly effective coin hunter? First, build your knowledge base. Study high-resolution photographs of authenticated mint errors, repunched mint marks, and double die varieties. Train your brain to instantly recognize the visual footprint of a genuine error versus common post-mint damage caused by everyday wear, scratches, or vice jobs. Second, equip yourself with the proper tools. Never attempt serious hunting with your bare hands and poor lighting. Invest in a quality 10x jeweler loop, white cotton numismatic handling gloves to protect delicate copper surfaces from harmful skin oils, and a reliable digital microscope that connects to your smartphone or computer for deep dive analysis. Third, establish your hunting grounds. Do not just rely on chance encounters. Actively network with local coin shops, attend regional numismatic coin shows, scour online estate auctions, and talk to elderly relatives who might have old accumulations sitting untouched in storage. Let us return specifically to the 1953 Denver and Philadelphia mint facilities and reconstruct the exact moment these legendary error coins were born. Picture the roaring, deafening floor of the Denver Mint in the spring of 1953. Massive steam-driven and electric coining presses hammering away at tremendous speeds. The air smells of warm machine oil and ozone. Thousands of heavy steel planchets are fed into the collars every minute. Suddenly, for a split second, a working die shifts slightly in its holder, or a coin fails to eject cleanly before the next brutal strike descends with tons of crushing pressure. The steel die crashes down a second time onto the face of an already struck coin, smashing the fresh design details over the existing image. The press operator doesn't notice. The bin fills up with thousands of mixed scents, including this one miraculous anomaly. It is dumped into canvas bags, loaded onto an armored truck, shipped to a regional Federal Reserve bank, and eventually handed out as change at a local grocery store counter to a customer who slips it into their pocket, completely unaware that they are carrying a small fortune in their trousers. It is a cinematic narrative straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, yet it happens in real life every single day across the United States. Coins are time capsules. They travel through the hands of millions of different people over decades, bearing witness to history, absorbing the economic lifeblood of a nation, and quietly preserving stories that will never be told. When you hold a 1953 Lincoln cent, you are holding a physical artifact from the post-World War II American Golden Age. You are touching the exact same piece of copper that soldiers returning from Korea, factory workers building the interstate highway system, and families tuning into early television broadcasts once held in their hands. Adding a rare error or a pristine high-grade specimen of this iconic year to your collection connects you directly to that rich, vibrant tapestry of American heritage. As we reach the culmination of our journey today, I want you to look around your home with fresh eyes. Check that old jar of foreign coins and wheat pennies sitting on your dresser. Ask your parents or grandparents if they have any old boxes of keepsakes from the 1950s. Because the greatest tragedy in numismatics is not failing to find a rare coin. It is having a multi-million-dollar treasure sitting right beneath your fingertips and letting it slip away because you simply didn't know what to look for. Imagine checking your pocket change tonight, sliding a heavy handful of copper across your kitchen counter, and looking down at a small worn portrait of Abraham Lincoln, not knowing that buried among those common coins sits a silent colossal titan, a piece of history that could instantly shatter every financial boundary you have ever known and rewrite your family's future forever, because numismatic history is full of quiet ghosts, legends wrapped in humble metal that lay hidden in plain sight for decades, waiting for the right pair of eyes to finally recognize their impossible worth. And tonight we are hunting the holy grail of mid-century American coinage, the 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin minted in Philadelphia during the height of the Korean War, carrying a secret so terrifyingly valuable that a single pristine specimen has reached territory once thought completely impossible for a humble cent touching the staggering summit of $1.7 million. Before we look at the breathtaking heights of what perfection commands, let us ground ourselves in the gritty reality of what was happening across America in 1951, a nation recovering from global conflict, humming with industrial might, where millions of these bronze tokens poured out of the Philadelphia Mint, rolling out by the truckload, destined for pocketbooks, candy stores, and bank vaults designed strictly for mundane commerce. Never once intended to be revered, never meant to be preserved like ancient gold, yet out of those staggering production numbers, numbering in the hundreds of millions, something went wrong, a microscopic deviation, a split second in the chaotic rhythm of the minting press, a mechanical anomaly that birthed a ghost, a singular surviving anomaly that defies every rule of mass production and transforms an ordinary pocket piece into an unrepeatable masterpiece of numismatic art. Let us dive deep into the raw anatomy of this coin so you know precisely what to look for when you tear open that old coffee can in your garage or rifle through your grandfather's inherited coin collection, because the devil and the fortune are hiding entirely in the microscopic details. On the obverse, you are greeted by Victor David Brenner's immortal profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right, surrounded by the solemn motto, "In God We Trust," with the bold date 1951 resting comfortably below his shoulder truncation. But turn that coin over to the reverse and your heart should instantly skip a beat, because on a standard 1951 Philadelphia cent you will look closely at the space beneath the two wheat stalks on the right side and find absolutely nothing. No tiny letter P, no sign of mint identification, just smooth bronze field. Yet in the strange, unpredictable world of high-grade mint errors and rare unrecorded experimental strikes or extreme double dies, everything you thought you knew about standard coinage gets completely upended. Think about the sheer impossibility of survival for a coin like this. How many millions of these exact pennies were spent, dropped, lost in floorboards, melted down during times of high copper value, or simply rubbed smooth in the relentless friction of daily commerce, leaving behind battered, worn-down relics worth barely their weight in scrap metal, yet somewhere out there, shielded from the ravages of circulation, resting safely in a forgotten envelope or tucked away in an old cardboard Whitman folder. lies a specimen that escaped the grinder of time, a coin that retained its razor-sharp mint luster, its brilliant original red copper flash untouched by oxidation, corrosion, or careless human fingers. What separates a common 5-cent worn coin from a multi-million-dollar legend comes down to the ruthless, uncompromising standard of condition grading governed by the Sheldon scale, where experts look through powerful magnification searching for the tiniest microscopic imperfection, a stray bag mark across Lincoln's cheek, a rim nick from a coin-counting machine, or a dulling of the original mint brilliance that instantly drops a coin from the celestial heights of mint state 70 down to ordinary, earthbound reality. The sheer psychology of treasure hunting in the modern era drives thousands of everyday Americans to scour estate sales, bank roll searches, and dusty attic stashes, fueled by the intoxicating knowledge that major grading services have repeatedly authenticated million-dollar discoveries found by absolute beginners who simply refuse to throw away their old change without looking twice, proving definitively that you do not need a multi-million-dollar investment portfolio to strike it rich in numismatics. You just need sharp eyes, relentless patience, and a deep, burning fascination for the hidden anomalies of American monetary history. Consider the sheer manufacturing process of 1951, when the Philadelphia Mint was running presses 24 hours a day under intense pressure to supply a booming post-war economy. Dies were pushed far beyond their normal operational limits, leading to shattered dies, grease-filled mint marks, doubled master hubs, and accidental experimental striking anomalies that quality control inspectors completely missed allowing. Bizarre physical anomalies to slip out into the wild channels of American commerce, where they vanished into the pockets of unsuspecting citizens who spent small fortunes on a cup of coffee without ever realizing what they were carrying. As you listen to this, think about every coin jar sitting in your home right now, every old box passed down through generations, every dusty corner of your basement that holds forgotten jars of copper coins, because within those very containers could rest the exact physical embodiment of your ultimate financial freedom, waiting patiently for you to flip it over under a bright light and discover the uncirculated fiery red surface that separates the paupers from the kings. We must examine the authentication process itself, because when a coin reaches the realm of seven-figure valuations, every single microscopic detail is scrutinized under advanced forensic lighting, electron microscopes, and high-resolution chemical composition analysis to ensure that no tampering, no artificial toning, and no fraudulent mint mark alterations have taken place, ensuring that only genuine, unblemished historical survivors carry the authenticated pedigree of a true numismatic masterpiece. The journey of $1 million coin is never just about money, it is about rescuing a lost piece of history from total oblivion, giving a voice to a silent artifact that witnessed the dawn of the atomic age, the Korean conflict, and the birth of modern rock and roll, carrying the scars and triumphs of an entire civilization compressed into a disk of copper barely 3/4 of an inch wide, yet holding enough gravitational pull to alter the trajectory of human lives overnight. Look at your hands right now and picture the infinite possibilities of what could happen if tonight or tomorrow morning, during a routine trip to the local convenience store, or while sorting through a jar of old pennies handed down by an elderly relative, your thumb brushes against a surface that feels different, looks different, and carries that unmistakable amber-red glow of a miraculous mint state survivor that has managed to bypass every single historical odd against its survival. The thrill of the hunt is an addiction shared by millions, a relentless pursuit of the unknown where every single coin roll opened is a brand new lottery ticket, where the odds are defied not by luck alone, but by deep knowledge, sharp observation, and an unshakable belief that the greatest treasures in American history have still not been found and could very well be resting right inside your very own home. Let this thought linger in your mind as you walk away from this video and look at your change with entirely new eyes, because somewhere out there in the vast, sprawling landscape of America, the ultimate 1951 copper titan is waiting for its rightful owner, waiting for someone to pause, look closer, and pull a $1.7 fortune out of the shadows of history into the blinding light of eternity. Picture this: you are standing in the dim light of your kitchen, sorting through a dusty coffee can of old pocket change your grandfather left behind. Your fingers graze a dull piece of copper oxidized by decades of silence. You flip it over, and your breath catches in your throat. The year is 1948, and beneath those digits, There is nothing, absolute emptiness, no tiny d, no stubbornness, just smooth, untouched copper that whispers a terrifying question: what if this is the one coin that changes everything? Tonight, numismatics is a game of ghosts and mirrors. We spend our lives hunting for shadows, believing that fortunes only belong to museums or billionaire auctioneers, but every single day ordinary people walking through grocery store aisles and garage sales brush shoulders with history worth more than a luxury estate. And today we are unlocking the door to the holy grail of mid-century copper, the 1948 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent that has collectors losing sleep across America. Let us step back to the Philadelphia Mint in 1948. World War II had ended. The economy was surging and millions of ordinary zinc-coated steel pennies and copper alloy cents were pouring out of coin presses. Workers were exhausted. Machinery was pushed to absolute breaking limits and mistakes happened in the dark corners of the mint floor. Most mistakes were caught and melted down, but a microscopic fraction of anomalies slipped past security, guarded only by fate, finding their way into the wild circulation of post-war America. Now, why does a standard 1948 penny usually sit in coin shop bargain bins for barely a nickel while collectors are whispering about figures reaching into the millions? Because ordinary is the enemy of treasure. Normal 1948 pennies were minted by the multi-millions. They are common as autumn leaves, but true rarities are born from chaos, extreme experimental striking errors, unique doubling anomalies, or ultra-high grade master die proofs that were never meant to touch human hands. Imagine pulling out a magnifying glass right now. Your heart is hammering against your ribs. The room grows completely silent. You tilt the coin under a sharp LED beam. Look closely at the date. Look at Lincoln's resolute gaze, forged in solid bronze. Look at the wheat stalks on the reverse side. Are the designer initials VDB faintly ghosting? Where they shouldn't be is the entire face of the coin struck on a miraculous wrong planchet intended for a silver dime or a foreign coin, leaving a distorted halo of pure metallic perfection. This is where the nightmare and the dream collide. Most people glance at an old coin, throw it in a jar, and forget it forever. They do not know the language of the hunt. They do not know how to spot a doubled die obverse where every letter of liberty seems to tremble with double vision. They do not know the sacred geometry of mint luster that separates a coin worth pocket lint from a numismatic titan worth a king's ransom. Let us talk about condition, because grade is absolute king in this silent war. Condition is everything. A 1948 cent pulled from a muddy backyard is history, but a 1948 cent preserved in pristine mint state, 67 red condition with blazing original factory copper luster, untouched by the corrosive hands of time, is a radioactive asset. It is a lightning bolt captured in metal. You might be sitting right now within arm's reach of a coffee jar, a desk drawer, or an old shoebox filled with your family inheritance. You might be breathing the exact same air as a coin that could wipe out your mortgage, pay off your debts, and rewrite your family tree for generations to come. That is not hyperbole. That is the brutal, electrifying reality of coin collecting. Let us dive deeper into the anatomy of what makes a standard coin transcend into legendary status. When the Philadelphia Mint struck coins in 1948, they used massive steel hubs to press master dies into hot metal. If a die shifted even a fraction of a millimeter during the second or third strike, the entire design would duplicate itself underneath the surface, creating a phantom image that expert authenticators hunt for with hawk-like precision. Can you imagine the moment of discovery? Picture yourself sitting at your desk late at night. The house is dead quiet, your hands are steady, but your mind is racing. You place the coin under the scope, and suddenly there it is, unmistakable, rare, breathtaking, doubling on the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust." It is like finding a fingerprint left behind by history 50 years ago. People ask me all the time, how do I know if my coin is real? How do I protect myself from fakes and counterfeits? The answer is vigilance and education. You must study the microscopic die markers, the exact positioning of the designer's truncation, the sharpness of Lincoln's hairlines, and the precise texture of the field behind his head. Counterfeits look greasy and forced. Genuine mint errors look like organic masterpieces carved by lightning. Let us walk through the exact steps you need to take the moment you finish listening to this sentence. Go find that coin jar. Stop what you are doing. Dump those coins out onto a soft cloth. Never use abrasive cleaners. Never scrub a coin, because one wipe with a paper towel can wipe $50,000 of value off a rare piece of copper. Instantly treat every old coin like it is fragile ancient glass, because to a collector it is sacred. Examine the reverse side, look at the wheat stalks, look closely at the lettering. In 1 cent, are the letters crisp and razor sharp, or are they mushy and rounded from a worn die? Look for repunched mint marks. Even though Philadelphia traditionally used no mint mark, experimental trial runs and working dies transferred from other facilities have stunned experts before in ways textbooks never predicted. The thrill of the hunt is an addiction from which no true collector ever wants to recover. It is the eternal belief that around the next corner, inside the next roll of coins, at the next garage sale, lies the ultimate prize, the one discovery that makes every dry spell, every disappointment, and every common date coin completely worth it. Think about the historical backdrop of 1948. Harry Truman was fighting for the presidency. The Cold War was casting its first long shadows across the globe, and America was a nation vibrating with unstoppable industrial power. Every coin minted that year carries the literal DNA of that historic epoch. It is a physical artifact, a time capsule that witnessed the birth of the modern world. And now that artifact might be sitting in your house, waiting for you to wake up and realize what you possess. The coin does not care who you are. It does not care where you found it. It only waits for the right set of eyes to recognize its true divine worth. As we push deeper into the heart of this mystery, remember that fortunes are not just found by luck, they are found by preparation. The people who unearth million-dollar coins are the ones who refused to quit when everyone else told them it was just pocket change. They are the ones who looked closer, stayed up later, and dared to believe that lightning could strike twice in the exact same spot. So what is stopping you right now? Go through your collection, check your inherited jars, inspect your grandfather's old lockbox, look at every single 1948 Lincoln cent with fresh eyes, look past the dirt, look past the tarnish, and look straight into the heart of history. Because out there right now in the vast quiet expanse of America, the ultimate 1948 copper masterpiece is waiting for its rightful owner. And who says that owner cannot be you? Keep searching, keep hunting, and never stop believing in the unbelievable magic of the hidden treasure right beneath your fingertips.